Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this video on using the extra features on a Casio Classwiz calculator. So the calculator that I'm talking about is this calculator on the left. Okay, so you click on a button on the calculator to learn about the functions you need for ASL maths. This includes the shift and alpha functions as well. Okay, and you can follow the menu button for details about statistical calculations, solving inequalities and equations. Okay, let's get right on to the menu and setup mode. So pressing this button gives you a menu of 12 possible options, and the next slide that you're going to see explains the options that you will need. The options in grey are unlikely to be used during ASL maths, but in further maths you'll be using at least options number 2 and number 4. Option C you won't use as much. This includes a number of options, including the ability to include complex solutions to equations. You will mainly use option 2, angle units to change between degrees and radians in angles and stuff that you'll learn in the second year. You'll use that in the second year of ASL maths. You'll use that option there I'm talking about. Okay, so the menu mode then. To sort these options, you can select the arrow key and press equals. Alternatively, you can press the number or letter that corresponds to the option that you require, using the alpha and then the letter. Okay, so the calculator performs all the usual calculations. That kind of seems obvious. Statistics mode calculates various statistical measures from a table, including the mean and the standard deviation. So you'll only need option 1 or 2 for ASL maths. Option 1 is the 1 variable. This will give you a single column table. Enter all data for a single variable by typing the numbers and pressing equals between each one. Then option and select 1 variable calculation for mean and standard deviation calculations, and the variance as well. The second one, this will give you a table for 2 variables. Enter all data using the arrow to switch between x and y, then press option, and then 2 variable calculation for mean, standard deviation, or select regression to obtain information about linear correlation. So that is the regression calculation stuff. Let's calculate the regression line. Option number 7 is the distribution. However, if I return to my nifty little calculator, the distribution mode, option number 7, allows you to perform calculations using the normal and binomial distribution that you know about. PD means probability density, and will give us the probability of a certain value occurring, while CD means cumulative distribution, and tells us the probability of achieving up to a certain value. For example, x is binomially distributed with a 5 and a 0.3 probability. Find the probability of x being equal to 2. This is the binomial distribution, so we choose binomial PD, variable, we enter x is 2, since this is the probability we're looking at, n is 5, p is 0.3. Press equals after each value, and we find that the probability of x equaling 2 is 0.3087 roughly. Second one, we want when x is a normal distribution with 60 and 3 squared, be careful. Find p when x is less than 58. This is the normal distribution, so we choose normal CD. We choose a large negative value for the lower limit, such as minus 10 to the 6, and an upper value of 58 is in the question. And remember, your variance is the square root of the standard deviation, which is the square root of 9, which is just 3, and the mean is 60. Press equals, and we get probability of x being less than 58 is 0.252. Okay? So, let's go to number 9. Table. This feature allows us to find a list of outputs for up to 2 specific functions. Enter the functions using the x button, and then specify a start and end value of x. First step. This is the jump by which the values of x increase each time. Use the equals button to submit each value. If you only want to enter one function, press equals when g of x appears. If you want a second function, then you enter in your g of x, and so on. Okay. So, the last two is the equation of functions, which you probably already know about. This feature will solve subset equations involving up to 4 variables. You solve up to 3 inalienable further maths. In single math, you might only get to a max of 2 variables that you don't know about. And the polynomials up to degree 4 will also provide complex solutions, in other words, non-real solutions. So solve subset equations 3x plus y equals 20 and 2x minus 3y equals 17. Okay, I actually was writing by hand, but it won't let me. For some odd reason. Now it will. Okay. I'll solve these by hand just to show you. So we've got 3x plus y and that. Okay, the easiest way to solve that will be y is 20 minus 3x. Sub that one into the other, so we get 2x minus 3 lots of 20. Take away 3x. Okay. So we've got 2x minus 60 plus 9x is 20. So we've got 11x. Have we got? Yeah. Not on the right hand side, it should be 17, not 20. Yeah, x is 7. Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Because if you'd add 60 to that, you'd get it equal to 70, wouldn't you? Yeah. I think you're pretty alright. You should be pretty alright with those. Okay. You just gotta be careful with your algebraic manipulation, that's all. So after choosing option 1, subset equations, select number of unknowns, 2, and then enter the coefficients and subtract equals, and you get x is 7 and y is minus 1. The second example we're going to look at is solving x cubed minus x squared minus 10x minus 8 is equal to 0. Here's where to solve this on your calculator. After choosing option number 2, polynomial, set degree 3, enter in the coefficients. Yeah. Right. Okay, and you should get x is minus 1, and you should get minus 2 and 4 as well. Okay, so option then, or the QR. Option provides different options depending on which calculator mode you are using. Calculate mode option 2 allows you to convert an answer between degrees and radians. Statistics, you'll learn more about statistics and stuff later on, but standard deviation, the mean, regression coefficients, stuff that I know about, obviously I make teaching videos and all this content. And QR provides a QR code based on the previous calculation. Can allow you to see graphs of the functions or an online help page for the calculator. Not really that useful. Now this mode is highly useful, I use it a lot. The calculator to solve an equals button. So calc is a way of quickly submitting values into an algebraic expression. Use the alpha button to enter an expression, then press calc. The calculator will then prompt you to enter a variable for x. So for example, find the value of 3x squared plus 8x if x is minus 2. And then, as it says there, you should get an answer of minus 4 following those steps. Solve does what it says on the tin. It solves equations. Use the X button to enter an equation. You will need to use the equals sign, the red equals sign too, then press solve. Okay. Enter a starting value. It's using a numerical method in order to solve it. For example, the second one, sin x is 0.7. The way to solve that is you get x is inverse sine of 0.7. Inverse sine of 0.7 is 44.4 using the graphs of sine. Here's 180, so it's 180. Take away that because there's two solutions there. So it'll be 180. Take away the 44.4, which is where 135.6 is coming from. To that, when you calculate it, you can keep going up in values. If you keep getting the same one as you're entering around the same values, keep going up, and you'll eventually get to 130 odd. Okay, and those are the two solutions that are in the boundary. You could keep going. So this question didn't specify where it wanted your solutions to. Typically, it's between 0 and 180, usually. Not always, it can change, but that's what it usually is anyway. Okay, the integration feature, the little X stretched out S, allows you to perform definite integrals. Use this feature with caution. In an exam you'll still need to show the algebraic process, but it's a great way to check your work. So calculate the integral between -1 and 4 of x squared. This should give you 65 over 3. The way you do this one is that will integrate and 1 to the power above, and you power to 1/3 x cubed, between -1 and 4. So you do 1/3 of 4 cubed, take away 1/3 of -1 cubed. Okay. 1/3 of 4 cubed, well what's that, 64 over 3. Minus -1 cubed is -1. That'll be -1/3. Minus and a minus comes a plus, giving you 65 over 3. Okay, that's the algebraic process. Your calculator will do it. It's a bit of a checking tool, this method, but yes, it does work. Simply the derivative option, d on dx, will tell you the value of the gradient for a given value of x, but will not show you the working out. So for example, determine the gradient of the curve with the equation y equals 4x squared. Well, dy by dx is 8x, sum in the 3, and you get 24, okay? Funnily enough, you should get an answer there of 24, as it says. Okay, pretty simple stuff. Okay, moving on. And the column allows you to perform more than one simple calculation at once, basically. Not much about it, but it is pretty good. The x / the sigma button. Okay, so that one will give you summations, that one in gold there. The black one you use for things like definite integrals and summations, and I was solving algebraic expressions, that kind of stuff. We'll be using that. Summation good for series, sums of series. So for example, the sum from n is 1 to 10, or 2n plus 5, you should get an answer of 160, because you're summing in 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, then 10. Add them all together, that's what a sum is, you sum them all up, and you should get 160. Okay. The log button, or logarithm, is the opposite of an exponent, or a power. So for example, if I had 2 to the x is equal to 4, I could say log base 2 of 4 is equal to 2. As you know, the x would be 2 because 2 squared is 4. That's a logarithm. Alternatively, you could just use base 10, just log on its own. So you'd log is the same as log base 10. Okay? Also with that is the log base e, where e is known as Euler's number, which is about 2.718, and it keeps on going on and on. There's a cracking proof, and I will get to that. In fact, no, I probably would have already done this if I've taught you the logarithms video, which I'll link below if you're interested. The factor button. We tend to measure fractions of angles using base 10 in terms of tenths of hundredths of a second. However, they can also be measured using a modified form of base 60. Pressing that degrees and comma and the inverted commas once the solution has been calculated will convert a decimal number to this form. Since this uses this modified form of base 60, the button can also be used to quickly change values for time into hours, minutes and seconds. It's quite useful actually. fact is a quick way to write a number as a product of its prime factors. So you might remember at GCSE, you'd say write 12 as a product of prime factors. So for example, that would be 3 and 4, as 4 is a square number. 2 and 2, well, that's prime, that's prime, that's prime. So it's 2 squared times 3. You might remember doing that at GCSE, doing that on your calculator, and funnily enough, it will give you that answer. Okay. X to the minus 1 and x factorial. Well, x to the minus 1 after a number can be used to quickly find the reciprocal of that number. X factorial, primarily used during statistics, so x factorial will be equal to x times x minus 1 times x minus 2 times all the way to 2 times 1. This gives a number of ways to arrange x items without replacement. The abs button in the second year of A-level maths, you'll learn about the absolute value or the modulus. This takes an input and makes the output positive. You can use the abs button to solve calculations involving this function, or to plot a table of values to check whether a sketch of a graph is likely to be correct. Quite useful. Solve the equation x plus 4 is equal to 1. So, using the abs button and the alpha button and all that fun stuff, you'll get minus 3 or minus 5. Okay, because don't forget, if minus 3 will work, because you get minus 3 plus 4, which is 1, modded, which is 1, which works. Minus 5 plus 4 is minus 1, modded will give me plus 1, which is also correct, and those are the only 2 solutions that will possibly work. Okay. NPR, we don't usually use that much, but it is opposite of NCR, which you'll see in a second. So it's a number of permutations, so it's a lot of combinatorics. Basically, you're not allowed to have repetition, choosing R items for a larger group of N items, where order does matter as well. Next one, we should get 65p3 for that one. NCR is what we use a lot, is a number of combinations of size R from a set of N items, without repetition, where order doesn't necessarily matter. We use this a lot with binomial expansion, which we'll learn first year and second year of A-level maths. 5C3 then is an answer of 10. Reason why is due to basically the, don't know how to put it, it kind of is Pascal's triangle. So in Pascal's triangle, you've got 5 rows, and then you want the third element across. Remember, we don't count the one at the side. So as it goes 1, 4, 6, 10. Well, it starts at 4, then to 6, then to 10. So the third one must be 10. Inequalities, well, pretty explicit, don't need to explain that. Inequalities are quite helpful for 3rd and 4th degrees, so quartics and quintics. Quintics you can't do on your calculator, but you can kind of use part of it, factorise that element out, use polynomial division to get to your quartic, and then solve your quartic on your calculator. Okay? And that's the end of this video. Well, I'll leave it at that on that slide. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video. Thank you very much.